and we get to take a breath. Transition into the next piece, and that is, here we go, Rabbi Jason Herman and Estee Ellis. So there's this incredible process to your work as well, Estee, and I will just let you take it and give us an introduction, and I have your slides, so just tell me when to click.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it's really wonderful to be here. Can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so I think I wanted to share a little bit about my work in general and then the specifics for this project. And so I think when I think about my artwork, feels like there's two really main creative elements that go into it. There's the reflective comics that are in this graphic novel sort of style and aesthetic and inspiration. Then there's the Dvar Torah element as well, where there's this creative interpretation of Torah that's usually tied towards a particular life moment or event in the world. And so when I think of where I publish my work, in addition to it being online or on Instagram, having it in Sefaria is one of the things that really excites me, thinking about where art can fit into the Jewish library and where art can be used as a way of learning Torah. So this opportunity in general really excited me, and it was really wonderful to partner with Rabbi Jason Herman. And if you want to advance to the next slide, we can take a look. And I think just for the sake of time, we're kind of looking at this big picture, but essentially through the conversations with Rabbi Jason and myself, and as we talked about Parshat Tazria, I put together a 9-panel comic that explored some of the themes, and it both had the Torah that Rabbi Jason brought like into the conversation from the beginning, and then there was also the conversation that he and I had around that Torah. And the result was this 9 panels. Just kind of like from in this broad strokes kind of way, I'll note that as we're looking at it zoomed out perspective, you can see that some of the panels have this darker, thicker line around them, and that's representative of the conversation sort of as we're talking together in Zoom, in this Zoom space. But then you have the comics that have a slightly, or the panels that have a slightly thinner line, and this is where the sort of memoir-esque reflective part got to come into the conversation as well. And I got to reflect on the teachings and where it fit into my life, and yeah. The last slide that thank you, Ria. The last slide that I wanted to highlight was, in addition to the visual output, I like to try to produce a verbal script that goes along with the comics. And this is really inspired by some conversations with Shoshi Finkel, who does incredible work just in terms of advocating for inclusivity and accessibility. And in some of our conversations, we had talked about how a screen reader can help with the just like access towards comics, and I think about comics as a way of accessing Torah, and I think about how all of these things kind of work together. In addition to the visual, I have this text-based script as well, which sort of describes what's happening in each panel, kind of breaks down the visual and the verbal components. And I don't know if this selfishly is maybe a way to say it, but I feel like I grow as an artist when I do this exercise as well, because it makes me question what is the text versus what is the image in a comic. And I think that maybe it's possible to have a preconceived notion that they're very separate, but I think that this by making a script, I'm sort of forced to engage with that question: what is script, what is image? And I guess that's sort of a broader commentary on the piece as well. What is the Torah, what is the art, and how much are they interconnected? I'll pause here. Yes, thank you. And so yeah, we can take a look at the images more closely.
If there's anything that you want to say about any piece,
Yeah, no, let's just move.
let's look through all of them.
Thanks. I think we'll just move through it slowly. That way we can read it. Thanks, Ria.
Great.
I think I'll add one more thing if that's all right. I think that one of the questions at this at this end of year moment when we're reflecting on the learning process and the conversational aspect and the
Estee, it's 1 second.
I
We
guess the
might have.
distribution to
All right.
do you want to give me, sorry,
Yeah, we're experiencing a little bit of a lag.
sorry.
It's okay, I think. Let me just see.
One moment and I'll try to join from my phone.
Okay. And while
So-
Estee's doing that, think up some questions from what we just looked at. If you want to ask afterwards, if time remains.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, now we can really hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think the last thing that I had wanted to say was how the conversation with Rabbi Jason at the end of March synthesized a lot beyond what had just come from our earlier conversations and our earlier chavruta moments. I think the questions from those who had attended that session really helped illuminate some new details. And one of the ones that I just wanted to share was the connection between the content of Tzara'at and the sort of bodily affliction and the representations of bodies in comics. And I think there's something about thinking of Torah that talks about bodies and then making art that includes representations of bodies that really grounds and brings the Torah and the discussion to life in a way that was very meaningful. Are there any questions in the chat that I missed?
Oh. There might be an echo. No. Okay. I am not looking at the chats, but maybe I should. If you do have a question or a comment or feedback, just raise your hand or you can unmute. Olga, I see your hand.
I just want to say I love the style, and I noticed sometimes the balloons looked like they were alive, or they were characters or objects, and some of them looked like alembic, sometimes like the vessels in alchemical lab. So is it intentional?
Can you ask the
Was it-
question one more time? Sorry.
Sometimes the balloons, which were alive, I like that so much, but sometimes they looked like the vessels in a chemical lab, like alembics in some drawings, and that was very fun. Yes, like this one. So was it intentional? How did you come up with this idea? They look like characters or vessels. I think it's bizarre and very.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think I think the part that it looks like chemicals was not intentional, but I think the part where it looks alive and there's something organic to it, I think was intentional, because I think that just when creating a comic in general, I like to think about there's more affordances than something that's only text or only images. They get to partner in a way that's very playful. And so I think that thinking about the text as a character that's interacting with the other sort of obvious characters is one of the conventions of comics that I am excited to use and to enjoy. Thank you for that question.
Yes, that's okay.
That's so wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. And also, I saw something on Safaria, right at the beginning.
Yeah. So that's one of the places where you can find the comics that I make. And I'm not sure if this was audible earlier, and I apologize for the technical difficulties, and thank you for bearing with me. But in addition to publishing my work on, let's say, in my portfolio or on Instagram, I like to have my work within the library of Safaria so that it can be connected to other texts. And so, thank you, Alona. Appreciate it very much. So when you are studying a text, in addition to seeing the commentary that are from traditional commentators, Rashi, Rambam, you can also see the more contemporary works. And I think it's exciting to me to think about what does commentary look like when it's not only written, but when it's also in this visual format as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Say thank you to Estee for that. You can find out more information over here on esteeellis.com, and then also find out more about the Chavruta experience with the Amen Institute and review that Chavruta debrief through the articulation. So thank you so much.